Hey Investy Besties, welcome back to the channel. If you are new around these parts, welcome. And if you are a returning Investy Bestie, thank y'all so much for coming back. I do appreciate all of you guys being with me here today. Over here, we talk all things personal finance. We talk about ways to invest, super simple, super easy beginner investing content, and just all ways to grow your money. I teach with the receipts over here. So I bring you inside of our investment accounts, cryptocurrency, NFTs. I share our net worth just to show you guys what's possible with the proper mindset. So I hope that you go on and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and join us. So as you saw in the thumbnail and as you saw in the title, we're going to be talking about a topic today that really is not discussed much on YouTube, and not even just YouTube, but social media in general, and definitely in real life in our families. But over here, we have a safe space. I think we have a safe space in this community that we have over here on Mommy Trader. Again, guys, just know that all comments are always held by me, because I do have a lot of bots now in my comments, and also because anybody who comes with a judgmental attitude gets blessed and blocked real quick. Criticism is different, but we all know when people, try to be snarky or judge others, so you don't have to worry about that when it comes to leaving comments on this YouTube channel, okay? But we're going to be talking about a subject that, really needs to be talked about more, and we're going to make it very respectful. And this is a topic: death and our finances, okay? And how we can prepare. And I'm going to give you a couple of easy, when I say easy, I mean easy, okay? And the fact of the matter is that one day we will die, and we want to make sure that what we have planned for our money, the things that we worked hard for, is properly managed and taken care of, okay guys? And so one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about before we even dove into the tips, remember, if you believe in God or a higher power, please know that he is not that petty where if you get your will together, you're going to die the next day, okay? Okay? Not that petty, okay? If anything, it's showing that you have wisdom, and it's showing that you're being responsible, because you know that one day it's going to happen, and you're trying to be prepared ahead of time. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is having a will. Yes, you should definitely have a will. And the great thing about it is that you really can do one on your own. There are so many different websites. I'll have a couple of them down in the description box below, and I'll have one on the screen right here where you can go and you can they'll actually have all of the legal jargon in it. You just have to fill in like your name and some of the different details you want it to be spelled out specifically in terms of how you want the things, your possessions, to be handled. And that's another tip regarding wills: be very specific. So your beneficiary, do not say your kids. That's too general, okay? Be specific. That is so important. Say, I want my oldest daughter, Tiffany Brown, age 30, to be the beneficiary. So beneficiary is just the person in charge of executing all of your wishes. So make sure it's someone responsible. I cannot tell you the many times when someone has passed in a family and there was not a will in place, or there was, and they were so vague in the description that it was just a person who put themselves in charge that literally sank the ship, okay guys? Lots of arguments, lots of fights, and you can't even grieve properly because there wasn't a will in place, or the person who put themselves in charge, because this happens a lot with funerals. Someone put themselves in charge, and as a result, it becomes more of a headache than a grieving and healing process. So yes, create a will. Be specific. How do you want things handled? How do you want things laid out? This is something that my husband and I talk about, not often, but we do talk about it every now and then, how we want our funeral to be arranged. We know we want a quiet or praiseworthy funeral in a church. We want to be buried together. We don't want to have a cremation. We want to be able to have a repast at a restaurant, because that's another thing that causes a lot of arguments in families when someone passes, is food, okay? Who's bringing this? Who's in charge of this? Who's dillying out it? Have all of it already spelled out in the will, okay guys? So that's something that we plan on doing. We already know the cemetery we want to be buried in. Like I said, we want to be buried together. And so not together like in the same casket, but on top of each other or side by side. And again guys, it's about really being honest and upfront with yourself. And this is another tip: talk with each other, okay? So if you have a spouse or if you have a partner, it's very important to communicate your wishes. Why? Because you just never know. And that's just a tip throughout all this entire video. Just communicate, communicate, communicate. You'll be surprised at a lot of people who don't even talk about their monthly budget, okay? So if you can't even talk about your budget or have money meetings, which I do suggest once a month, have a money meeting. Talk about, your plans for when that time happens, how you want to be buried, how you want, things arranged for yourself. So it really saves a lot of the headache and a lot of the stress for your family and for your friends. A lot of times the wills don't even cost that much to set up. You can have something very detailed or something very simple. This is what I want done. This is the person I want in charge of it. I trust their discretion when it comes to handling all of my affairs. It could be something as simple as that. Okay, guys? The next thing I wanted to talk to you about in terms of preparing your money for death is life insurance. Now, this is another topic that is not talked about in families in real life, let alone the internet. Life insurance. Yes, you need life insurance. Why? Because again, you never know what may happen, and you just want to make sure you have enough money to at least cover your funeral costs. Even if you can't do a big policy, just enough to cover your funeral and your burial, and maybe like a repast, flowers, things like that, just enough to cover those type of expenses. But I always suggest that if you can do a little bit more, just so that you can leave your spouse or children with some financial footing, would be great. Remember, guys, everyone's focus and everyone's goals and everyone's finances are different. So if you can't do a $500,000 policy, that is okay. The only thing you can do is just to get enough to cover your funeral expenses. That's a heavy burden off, because again, I got to go back to my experience. I've been to many funerals where they had to ask for money or raise GoFundMes, and still it wasn't enough. And then you had certain people arguing about, well, we don't need flowers, we don't need this, but then certain of the family members felt like we have to have it. But then people always talk about who's gonna pay for it, and then you get into fights about, well, this person didn't give enough, this person gave nothing. And I mean, guys, when I tell you families separate over stuff like this, I'm telling you guys, it is 100% real. Okay, so have enough life insurance to at least cover your funeral. Now there's whole life and there's term life, and oh my goodness, you think like baby steps and debt get people into arguments over this? Whole life and term life also creates a lot of disagreements. But like I said, personal finance is personal. Do you, okay? Do you, boo. Whatever works for you and your family, do that. Now, I personally am a term life person, but if you believe in whole life, no judgment, no tea, no shade over here, okay? We always keep it very respectful, though we do not have to agree. But like I said, we are term life versus whole life. It just works out better for us, and that's just how it is. The next thing is to have a living will or a power of attorney. This is very important because let's say something happens, you go into a coma, okay? Let's say you become of a vegetable state. How do you want things handled? Do you want somebody in charge of your finances and over your estate? Do you want somebody to be able to pay your bills on your behalf, to be able to go to the bank on your behalf, things of the like? Maybe someone who can be authorized to say, you know what, this person is in a coma. The doctors are saying that there is no possibility of them returning to their normal selves. They're in a vegetative state. I have that authority to decide to, pull the plug or to end it right here. And it's a big responsibility. So you want to make sure that you select a person who you know is not flighty, who is responsible, who have proven themselves in life time and time again, just trustworthy, accountable. And we are like the power of attorney for several people in our family, okay? Because it's rare to see people kind of really on top of their finances, who are consistent, who can be relied on, and that's somebody you definitely want to pick in terms of your power of attorney. A lot of times it's the spouse, but let's say your spouse is deceased, or let's just say your spouse can't be trusted with that type of stuff. And it don't have to be a family member. If it's a trusted friend, sometimes it's a lawyer. I mean, whoever you feel like could make those decisions for you, you want to go ahead and do that. And living wills and power of attorneys, just like our normal will, is very, very easy to create, and those links that I have down in the description box will also help you to create one as well. Fourth tip that I have for you is to try to arrange and pay for your funeral ahead of time. Now, this is something that you see in like your mailing circulars that come to your house. They'll ask you, do you want to go ahead and just pay for your plot now? There's a lot of people who do it that's in their 30s and 40s. Just pay for your plot now. Why? Because number one, inflation is real. And if you think groceries are expensive, try looking at the cost of funerals and burials. You got flowers. What about the person, what they're going to wear? The casket. You pay for, sometimes you give a donation to the church. And if not, you will have it at a funeral home, and the funeral home will usually incorporate that cost in the package that they give you. What about music and programs? What about limousine or ride services? Then you have the cemetery. You know, you got to pay for the plots and the tombstone. I mean, it all adds up. And so you can get on a payment plan. You can contact the cemetery that you want to be buried at. And usually they have affiliations with funeral homes or your church. And you can just get this stuff kind of situated now. That way you don't have to worry about the cost. And maybe if you do have life insurance, more of that money can go to your beneficiaries than actually paying for your funeral. And I can tell you for example, my grandmother, her and my grandpa were together for a long time. When my grandpa died in 2016, she had already had the funeral paid for, the burial, everything paid for. Her plot, she's alive still, but her plot is still there waiting whenever, you know, that time comes for her. And Lord willing, I hope that's, you know, far into the future, but it's already taken care of. And I'm telling you guys, the stress relief from knowing that, because we are her power of attorney, then I have to worry about, you know, funeral and caskets and church and, you know, the plots, because it's all taken care of. So again, guys, try to arrange and pay for it ahead of time, at least your plots, at least the cemetery. Get that squared away if you can. And the last tip that I have for you, and this is important, guys, okay? This is important. This is very important. Gather all of your financial docs. Create a file on your computer that has, like, you have to call it like death file, but you know, the end of life file, just a catchy name, something that could be lighthearted if you desire. Create a file on your computer or in your planners of all of your credit card statements and your social security card, birth certificate, insurance policy documents. All of this information is going to be needed when it comes to executing your estate. Okay, estate is just things that you own, your homes, your investments, possessions, things like that. It's very, very important to have all of your paperwork somewhere easily accessible. And if you are having your monthly money meetings, if you do your net worth, you should already know where a lot of this information is. And that way, if something happens, you'll be able to easily get to it. Another thing that people forget about is passwords, okay? Especially if a lot of the documents you have are digital, you need to know your passwords. And again, you would be surprised at a lot of couples who do not communicate. And so there's no central location for their password. So if something happened, even if you don't die, if you go in for surgery and you have to go and get some important information and you don't even know the password to the different thousands of sites that, you know, the person who manages your finances operate on. And again, that's something else. If you are the manager of the finances in the household, for example, I am the manager of our day-to-day finances. It's very important for my husband to know where I keep the log of all of our passwords, of the emails, things of the like, because that way he can easily access something if I was unavailable. Even I remember one time I had the flu and I was just out of it, okay? I was out of it for like a week. He was able to go online. He was able to go to the ATM, get cash. He was able to do everything because it was easily accessible for him. Okay, guys? So again, I hope that this video was super simple, really to the point, but I really was trying to drive home the point that you want to make sure you prepare your money for death. This is something you may want to actually splurge on getting a lawyer to look over for you. So again, guys, I hope that you found this video super easy and super beginner friendly, and I hope that it invoked some thought into, wow, I need to really start thinking about not just retirement, because that's really good, not saving money because that's really good, or anything of the like, but also at the end of life, we need to prepare for this as well. Okay, guys, remember, it is not going to cause you to die any sooner because you get your affairs in order. It's very responsible. It's using wisdom, and I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a big help for your family. So leave me some tips down below, because I know a lot of y'all may have some easy beginner friendly tips for other people to begin gathering documents or starting to get things in order for their families. If you live in different countries, please leave some tips down below as well, because I know some of this really differs from country, not just even state to state, but country. Okay, so again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you go on and subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit that little bell notification button so that you don't miss an upload. And until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Okay, have a good one. Bye bye.